Boxing fans love a good debate, and few matchups light up the sport the way Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford does. It's the kind of fight that asks a simple question with a very complicated answer. What matters more at the elite level, size and strength, or skill and strategy? On one side stands Canelo, a natural super middleweight with a granite chin and fight-ending power in both hands. On the other is Crawford, a pound-for-pound technician who can switch stances, solve problems in real time, and make even accomplished champions look ordinary. As analysts and former champions weigh in, a clear theme runs through the conversation. This fight will be decided not by who is stronger, but by who is smarter for longer. Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith set the stage with a breakdown that echoed across boxing media. Kellerman points to Crawford's cleaner overall skill set, especially in recent years. He sees Crawford as the sharper fighter right now, quicker on triggers, better at winning the foot position battle, and more complete tactically. Smith agrees on the skill advantage, but he adds a warning that every fan should hear. Canelo's natural size is not a minor detail, it's the headline. Canelo brings a wider frame, thicker bones, and power that doesn't fade late. As Smith put it, this isn't about how big Crawford looks on the scale on fight night. It's about who is used to operating with that weight 365 days a year. Canelo is accustomed to fighting there. Crawford isn't. Smith also mentioned something that often gets lost in highlight clips: Canelo's habit of loading up. In big fights, especially at super middleweight, he sets his feet and throws with bad intentions almost every time. That can be devastating, ask Caleb Plant or Sergey Kovalev, but it can also become predictable against a mover with high ring IQ. Crawford's advantage lies in speed, angles, and decision-making. He is at his best when he makes opponents miss by inches and then makes them pay from a new position they didn't expect. If he stays disciplined and doesn't trade recklessly, the fight could tilt toward him round by round. Another voice worth listening to is Gervonta Davis's team, where the message has been consistent. Crawford cannot get carried away trying to stand his ground and trade heavy shots for too long. In that kind of fight, the natural super middleweight holds the edge almost every time. That warning aligns with what Stephen A. stressed. Crawford should not try to prove a point physically. Instead, he should rely on his defense, speed, and ring IQ. This isn't about pride. It's about percentages. Antonio Tarver, a former world champion who understands championship levels, put it bluntly. This could be the toughest fight of Crawford's career and arguably the best opponent Canelo has ever faced too. Tarver likes Crawford, believes in his pound-for-pound greatness, and says he has crossed every test thrown at him in the lower divisions. But this is not like the others. When you climb to fight someone larger, your margin for error shrinks. Tarver's tone sounded like a veteran telling younger fighters, skill travels, but physics travels too. That's exactly why Timothy Bradley Jr.'s early round breakdown is so valuable. Bradley expects a chess match in round 1. Minimal risk, lots of information gathering. Both men will probe the distance, feint, check reactions, and look for openings. Crawford tends to take a little longer to warm up in superfights because he wants complete data on what's in front of him. Canelo is more likely to put pressure a bit earlier, not bombing away, but steadily inching into mid-range. Bradley said the phrase, pre-engagement, matters here. That means everything that happens before a fighter commits. The steps into range, the head movement, the hand position, the feints. If Crawford wins this part of the battle, the rest gets easier. If Canelo forces him to set up shop near the ropes too often, the danger spikes. Amir Khan, who has actually faced both men, adds a perspective very few people in the world can offer. He called Crawford the best pound-for-pound fighter of this era and praised his skill, timing, and IQ. But Khan also reminded everyone why weight divisions exist. Moving up isn't just a number, it changes everything. Sparring heavier fighters to prepare means more wear and tear. Punch resistance at a higher weight can feel different. Energy late in rounds is affected. And Canelo's power doesn't vanish in the championship rounds. Khan warned that while this kind of fight can redefine a legacy, it can also backfire on even the greatest technicians. His advice to Crawford was cautious. You've already done what few ever do, double undisputed champion. You don't need this fight. But if you take it, understand what you're walking into. Promoter Tom Loeffler, a man who knows big events when he sees them, shifted the conversation from tactics to scale. In his view, Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford isn't just a fight, it's a meeting of two global empires. Canelo has carried boxing as a crossover star for years, packing stadiums from Texas to Mexico to the Middle East. Crawford has rebuilt his brand on pure dominance, earning pound-for-pound status and winning over skeptics with performance after performance. Loeffler says few modern fights can match this in magnitude. You're not just matching styles, you're merging two dynasties with massive, loyal fan bases. That's why even criticism of the undercard hasn't dulled the spotlight. The main event sells itself. Trainer Dave Coldwell offered the kind of nuts-and-bolts analysis that wins fights in real time. He highlighted Crawford's footwork and stance switching as the two most underrated weapons in boxing today. Crawford can box orthodox or southpaw, he can change angles mid-combination, and his sense of distance is elite. Coldwell noted that while Canelo's feet have always been more about placement than speed, his punch rate has dropped in recent years. He loads up more. He prefers not to maintain a frenetic pace for long stretches. If Crawford keeps the fight at his speed, turning Canelo and never letting himself be framed between the ropes, he can manage the moments and stack points. Coldwell isn't naive. He knows Canelo will land something big. When that happens, Crawford has to clinch, spin, or step off at an angle, not try to answer fire with fire. He doesn't have to hurt Canelo, Coldwell said. He just has to sting him enough to reset him. Jeff Mayweather underscored the most obvious and most important variable: size. Canelo is built for 168. He has gone up and down the weights and proven his sturdiness even at light heavyweight. He understands how to carry that size without gassing himself in championship rounds. Crawford, for all his greatness, is fighting above his natural division. That means extra pounds that must be carried for 36 minutes or less. And it means his physical strength will be tested by a man who has spent years wrestling with super middleweights. Mayweather still thinks Crawford is special. Amazing was his word, but he won't ignore the scale. A Ring magazine analyst, looking closely at tape, pointed to a weakness Canelo must fix if he wants to win. His ring cutting has slipped in recent fights. At his best, Canelo imposes his will by forcing fighters into corners. But recently, too many opponents have been able to circle out and make him reset. In a fight where Crawford's movement and angles are central to his strategy, that could be costly. The analyst called out Canelo's habit of cross-stepping under pressure instead of shuffling laterally. That extra beat it takes to get back into a fighting stance is more than a footwork note. It's a window for a counterpuncher like Crawford. David Haye, a former champion known for fearless takes, changed his mind after seeing both men side by side. Initially, he thought Canelo's size would be too much. But in person, he said they looked more similar than he expected on the night. If they're the same size, he said, then it's truly a pound-for-pound fight. Who's better P4P? Haye also compared Crawford's mindset to Andre Ward: patient, calculating, too proud to take a fight he doesn't believe he can win. If Crawford has signed, Haye believes he sees something there. Jeff Horn, another former champion who felt the power of both men, thinks defense may decide it. He talked about Crawford's ability to anticipate shots, roll with punches, and avoid clean contact. Horn said size and strength don't matter as much if you can't land cleanly. If Crawford can keep Canelo from setting his feet and force him to reset repeatedly, the super middleweight's advantages shrink. It's not about avoiding every shot. No one does that. It's about avoiding the one he doesn't see. If Canelo lands flush, anyone in boxing would feel it. If he constantly lands at the edge of his power, that becomes manageable. Finally, one veteran fighter who has watched Crawford's rise from the early days said he simply can't bet against him. He pointed to Crawford's mental toughness, his knack for rising to the moment, and his pattern of figuring out great fighters and then taking them apart. "I'll put my money on Crawford and live with the results," he said. It wasn't a boast. It sounded like resignation. I've seen enough to trust the man. So where does all of this leave us? Somewhere honest. The boxing analysis around Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford points to the same core truth. If this becomes a heavy-handed fight in mid-range, Canelo will carry it. If it's a fight of angles, feints, and footwork, Crawford's ring IQ can guide him home. Here are the keys each man must control. For Terence Crawford, keep it on your terms. Use the jab as both a measuring stick and a disruptor. Change stances when Canelo starts timing one look. Never let your back settle into the ropes. Spin, step around, or clinch and reset. Target the head early, then bank body shots when Canelo plants his feet. Make him turn. Don't linger after winning an exchange. Touch and go. Vary your speed. Don't try to win the crowd with power. Win the round with placement. Above all, manage the clock and the map. Control of distance and pace is your defense. For Canelo Alvarez, don't chase, cut. Use feints to draw Crawford first, then make him pay. Go to the body hard and often in the early rounds. Double the jab and follow with the right hand to the shoulder or chest to halt Crawford's exits. Take half steps, not lunges. Avoid getting hypnotized by Crawford's stance switches. When you trap him, throw shots in combinations of 3s and 4s, end to the body. Conserve gas. 3 minutes is a long time if you're swinging for the fences. Reduce the real estate and trust that your size will matter late. The predictions from most commentators tend to lean toward Crawford by decision, a tactical victory earned by small wins that add up. Stephen A. and others stress that he must resist any urge to prove a point in the pocket. It's not that Crawford can't punch, he can. It's that fighting a natural super middleweight like a super middleweight is playing the wrong game. On the other side, those who like Canelo think he can take advantage of single moments. One big shot to the ribs that changes how an opponent moves, one right hand over a lazy jab, one turn where Crawford is late to circle. They see a late stoppage as his best path, or a points win if he cuts the ring with discipline. There's also the question of timing. Max Kellerman observed that the recent version of Canelo, while still elite, has not looked quite as crisp as the prime editions. That doesn't mean he's fallen off a cliff. It means he has changed. He's become more of a seek and destroy operator who relies on pressure and power. Against certain fighters, that's more than enough. Against movers, Dimitri Bivol showed this. The approach can be blunted. Crawford is not Bivol stylistically, but he is comfortable making aggressive fighters hesitate. Does all this guarantee a classic? The truth is, this kind of fight almost always delivers because the stakes are clear. For Canelo, it's the chance to silence critics who say his punch rate has dipped and his feet have slowed. For Crawford, it's not just a belt, it's a claim to immortality. To beat a bigger man with real power at his best weight would place him in rare company in the history of the sport. It would be a shot at legacy, pound-for-pound status cemented in stone. Beyond the ropes, the business of Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford is easy to understand. Two superstar names. Two different empires. One ring. Promoter Tom Loeffler framed it perfectly. It's not just a fight. It's a collision between two global fan bases that almost never get to collide like this because weight divisions keep them apart. That's why the buzz has been so loud. That's why even the most skeptical fans circle the date. One last thought. There's a reason this matchup has drawn the attention of voices from every corner of the sport. From Jeff Mayweather to David Haye. From Timothy Bradley Jr. to Jeff Horn. Each of them, with their different backgrounds and experiences, returns to the same balancing scale. On one side, size, power, durability, and the comfort of years at super middleweight. On the other, timing, movement, discipline, and a brain built for solving problems in real time. The fight is not about one punch. It's about who can enforce his preferred fight longer. If you're a fan of boxing analysis, you couldn't ask for more. If you're new to the sport, this is a perfect introduction to what makes championship boxing fascinating. Two fighters who excel at what the other hates. Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford is the very definition of a test. Of game plans, of patience, of chins, and of the small adjustments that separate the very good from the truly great. However you score it ahead of time, however you plan your prediction, one thing is certain. When the bell rings, we'll all learn something new about both men. And that's why we watch. Who do you favor in Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford? Do you think Crawford's ring IQ and footwork can outpoint the bigger man, or will Canelo's body shots and pressure tell the story? Share your take below, and keep the discussion respectful and sharp. We'll have full coverage on Fight Week, tactics, undercard stories, and the latest from both camps. Stay tuned.